You time just past 10:30 to begin. So good morning. I am Reverend Misty-Dawn Shelly. My pronouns are she and her, and I serve as the other half of your interim co-minister team. My colleague, the Reverend Abigail Stockman, the better half, the full half, will join us via Zoom. I think I saw her name up there. And for our forum, so remember there's a forum that's happening this afternoon following worship. We'll begin about noon, sometime around there. So this is a bit of a homecoming for me. From 2009 until 2011, I learned and served with this congregation and the Reverend Dr. Judith Wright as your ministerial intern. And on June 11th, 2011, the members of this congregation ordained me to the Unitarian Universalist ministry alongside my home congregation. So when they said they could use some help with pastoral care and a few Sunday mornings and some support for your religious education, I couldn't pass up the opportunity. And when I am not here as your quarter time minister, I serve the people of First Parish Church in Berlin. Just up the road, 10-minute commute, wasn't too bad this morning. So here in this spiritual community, we invite you to come with all of who you are, your religious background, race, ethnicity, age, ability, and gender expression. Every Sunday we come together by Zoom. We can see our Zoomers, and here in the meeting house to support each other's spiritual exploration and honor the various paths of our spiritual journeys that our spiritual journeys take. Today, our service is based on a story by Janine Roshmeyer, A Lamp in Every Corner. And I've asked you to bring your home chalice to church with you or to your Zoom box. Now, if you're at home, you can go scurrying around finding a candle. If you are here in the meeting house, there are some candles our greeters have passed out. I tossed a few in a few pews. These are battery operated, so you at home can have real fire, but we will have battery operated light today. This morning, we rededicate ourselves to being in community with intention and a blessing that the light of the church comes from the people. Let us begin. And guess what is the name of the prelude today? The Homecoming. I'm not joking. I'm dedicating this to our dear Misty-Dawn. Thank you, Olga. So many years ago in the land of Transylvania, in a mountain valley shadowed by great forests, great tall forests, was a village. A village with small wooden houses with dark shingled roofs. And the people in the village were of the Unitarian religion, and they wanted a church of their own. A church set high on a hillside, looking down upon the village as a parent sort of looks down at their child. So all of the people in the village labored long and hard to build themselves a church. It started with the stone masons who hammered sharp chisels into these great big blocks of gray stone, and then they set the stones for sturdy walls. And the glaziers made tiny glass panes and fit them neatly into the windows with leaded lines. And the foresters, with all of those tall beech trees, they cut them down and they laid the trusses for the ceiling and then covered the roof with close-fitting wooden shingles that would not leak a drop of rain. And then the carpenters carved more wood for a pair of wide opening doors, and a bell was brought from a faraway city, and the weavers, oh, the weavers. We love the weavers. The weavers with their fine cloths on the altar and cloths that were embroidered with flowers and edged with lace hanging on the walls. And the smiths hammered black iron into tall lampstands and hammered thin bronze into shining oil lamps. Finally, when the building of the church was done and the painting of the church could begin, oh, the painters with their bright colors came in, royal red and shimmering gold and blue, and everyone in the village, everyone, all ages, all the kids and parents and the elders and the single folks and the newlyweds, all of them came to decorate their church. They painted flowers on the walls and they painted trees, and then they put these beautiful designs on the front door. And at the end of the day, when it was finished, when their church was finally done, all of the people stood back to admire it. And they rang the bells and they sang songs and they danced, and happiness and with praise for what their community created from working together. It might look something like this. How about we raise our voices and ring bells and sing the song, hymn number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. You may rise in body and or spirit. Strong, the rock, And now Chris Woodcock will come forward and offer part 2 of our story.
A very exciting story. I have the benefit of knowing it, and it is very exciting. So, after they had finished the church and sang their songs and rang the bells, the village had a church now. A church set up on the hill looking down on the village as a mother looks down upon her sleeping child. "We will eat now," announced an elder of the village, because everyone was hungry after a long day's work. "And later tonight, we'll come back and pray." So the people of the village went down the hillside to their homes and their suppers, all except one little girl named Zoe and her father, who stayed behind. They had brought their own bread and cheese. They ate their food slowly, sitting on the grass on the hillside, admiring their new church and its strong stone walls and tall tower and magnificent bell. After they had eaten, they went back inside, opening those carved wooden doors to go into the gloriously pointed sanctuary inside. "Oh, look, Father," Zoe cried, running from picture to picture with her footsteps echoing off the stone walls. "See how grand." "Yes, it is," said her father, looking around and nodding with pride. "Yes, it is."
Yes, it is. See how grand the church is. So grand that they share their plate, their offering plate. This morning, and I believe for the whole month, though serving to church sometime I forget. So you share your plate for a whole month. Yes, thank you, Cindy. And this month is with the Nipmuc Indian Development Corporation. And so at this time in our service, you may make way for your financial stewardship and saying, yes, it is good to share the plate with those who are in need. Our morning offerings will be gratefully received. So if it feels like this is very unfamiliar, I did rearrange the whole order of worship this week. So just in case you're like, gosh, what happened to the chalice? And wait, why are we taking the money now? Trust in the process. Trust. It would not steer you too far off the path. Maybe a little bit, but you will come. I would like to invite us into a time of meditation before we go into your beloved ritual of sharing of your joys and concerns. So sometimes this is the only time in the week we have to be still. Maybe even to remember there is breath in us and that we must take time to breathe. So I invite you into a time and a receiving of this meditation. Spirit of love and life, we have gathered again out of our separateness to know that we are not alone. In our fears, we are not alone. In our grasping for peace, finding it in fleeting moments and sometimes losing it again to some turmoil of the mind and heart. Here we are not alone. In our cynical moments, because we have them, and our wonderings, is this all there is? Is this the best I can do? We are not alone. In our pain, we are not alone. And so we dwell in you, Spirit of healing and wholeness, for this hour, for this brief moment in our week, willing to be held here in an immense and eternal love, whose origins and names we do not know, whose reality is irresistible. It is a love that calls us on. It reaches between us to fill spaces. It consoles the grieving. It calms the anxious. It gives new vision to eyes dimmed by tears and exhaustion. It even opens ourself to a deeper truth, making a place in the heart for hope. In the brief stillness that will follow, let us rest in this peace, rest in this love, and be held here. Now, Chris Woodcock will come and offer part 3 of our story.
The ending. Not quite. We continue our story now that Zoe and her father have admired the beauty of the village's church. But Father, she said suddenly, we have not finished. What do you mean? There are tall iron lampstands all along the walls, but there are no lamps. The church will be dark when the people come back. Ah, no, little one, said her father. The light of the church comes from its people. You shall see. He rang the big bell to call the people to worship, then took his daughter by the hand and led her back outside. They waited on the grassy hillside next to the beautiful church of strong gray stone. The sun had set behind the mountains. The night was coming. Yet in the growing darkness, tiny points of lights came from many directions and moved steadily up the hill. Each family is entrusted with a lamp, little one, her father explained. Each family lights its own way here. Where is our family's lamp? Said Zoe. Your mother is carrying it. She will be here soon. The many lights moved closer together, gathering into one moving stream, all headed in the same way, growing larger and brighter all the time. Zoe's mother and sister arrived, bearing a burning oil lamp in her hands. The father lifted Zoe so she could see the family's lamp high in its tall iron stand. All around the church, other families were doing the same. Soon, the church was ablaze in every corner with light, for all the people of the village had gathered to pray and to sing.
This morning, I have invited you to bring your home chalice or whatever has reminded you to kindle the flame while you have been apart. Our choir, I will invite our choir. Oh, and if you don't have one, you have those little battery-powered candles that I've brought you. I'm inviting our choir to bring their lights forward now. And then once our choir begins their beautiful anthem, you're welcome to come forward and bring your light as well. Now, Zoomers, I didn't forget you. So if you feel so moved to share your video and share your home light with us, we will take it in now. Excellent. Beautiful. Thank you. Now, I want you to imagine you're on a road trip. Your favorite tunes are on the radio. Your family is singing along at the top of their lungs. The windows are down. It's a beautiful fall day or summer day or whatever day. And then as you're singing away and it's your playlist, you know all the words. The rest of the car sings a different word. You think, well, maybe they just heard the words wrong the first time. So singing away, you let it slide until it happens again. Come to find out, you've been singing the wrong words all this time. And then there is great laughter, and the tunes continue, and the trip continues, and all is well. This happens to me and my family quite often on a road trip. And it's not a surprise to me that while emerging from pandemic ministry, I turn to this beloved story of Zoe and her family's village building a church and bringing the light of their homes to kindle the light of the church. Though it wasn't until November of last year, in a conversation with an elder, one more wise than I, commented to me that they hadn't remembered how the people take their light from the church. Because as you might imagine, when leaving that village church in the night, the villagers would need to take the light with them for their journey home. Here at First Parish, in the emergence of pandemic ministry that many congregations have been experiencing since the spring of this year, you also received the news that Reverend Linda, your minister for 6 years, would retire and complete her ministry with all of you at the end of June. For some, I imagine this was like the family road trip that you were singing along and then, oops, wait, we're singing a different song? I thought I knew this song. I thought we were familiar with the song. For others, maybe it was no surprise at all. And the departure of a minister, whether beloved or not, or maybe not even known, is still a loss. It's a loss of connection, of spiritual leadership, and the grief that comes with ministerial transitions share the same characteristics of any loss, any death, that roller coaster of anger, sadness, joy, questioning, guilt. Now, they say that Unitarian Universalists don't do guilt, but we do. We do. It's hard sometimes. It's hard to experience a loss. And Stephen Levine, in his book, A Year to Live, writes, "Death, like birth, is not an emergency, but an emergence." Emerging from pandemic ministry is difficult enough without adding the emergency, or what I imagined certainly felt like an emergency, of trying to find an interim minister and then a settled minister. Following our service and following a break with some fellowship, Reverend Abigail and I will facilitate an opportunity to share how it is with your hearts in this transition and in preparation for what I really wanted for us to do here this morning, here in the meeting house and on Zoom, is to invite you to revisit, bring you back to the heart of 2021, when pandemic ministry was full on hybrid worship, sometimes outside, sometimes only on Zoom, sometimes nothing because the tech didn't work. That's real. All of the things. Sometimes masked outdoors, masked indoors, masks off for those leading worship, and the disconnect from the light of the people. The isolation from having no embodied light, no physical light from the church. And let's be honest, joy, right? Because there's nothing better than sitting in your pajamas with a hot cup of tea in your hands and kids cuddled up on the couch watching worship. The dog can be there, the cat can come. And maybe you even worshiped more thanks to Zoom. Emergence. The emergence and blossoming of understanding, of love, has nothing to do with our outer traditions, writes Tony Packard in The Wise Heart. It happens completely on its own. When a human being questions, wonders, listens, and looks without getting stuck in fear. When our self-concern is quiet, heaven and earth may be open. Emergence in this process of recommitting to community, of reopening ourselves to the love that holds us and does not let us go, to the connections of community that remind us that we belong to each other. Whether at a distance or in reduced capacities, we are here together. John O'Donohue writes, "We bless this year for all we learned, for all we loved, and for all we've lost." So if you are willing and able, I will invite you into a time of meditation where I will ask these 3 questions and give you some time to consider them. Now, for some of us, we've been sitting for too long. If you need to stand up, if you need to shut off your camera on Zoom, if you need to move to a different pew because you don't want to sit next to your beloved, that's okay too. Make space for yourself to breathe. I invite you to close your eyes, or maybe have soft eyes if that is not accessible to you. Be comfortable. And if you would rather doodle or color, all of that is welcome. All is welcome here. So back in that core of 2021. What have you learned?
You remind me of my father.
And what have you loved? What have you loved from 2021? And what have you lost? Having taken time to honor your learnings, your love, and what has been lost. As we move from our time of worship today, I invite you to make way for fertile ground of 2022 and 2023. To remember we are the embodiment of our values. We move in and with a variety of communities, and we move with the knowing that we belong. We belong here as spiritual companions traveling life's journey. We belong to a universal love that cannot and will not let us go. And we belong to an intricate, tender, and yet most resilient interdependent web that we are a part of. With all that we have received this morning, to encounter this next phase of ministry with the blessing of the kindled flame. Its cup, our chalice, cup, the values and covenants that help us to know we belong together. And the light from each of us that we then carry its flame to deepen compassion in our world. As we rededicate ourselves to the shared ministries of this congregation, I invite you to join me in a rededication, a blessing of rededication of community. I believe this is the time you would look to the screen. It is a responsive reading. You'll get the hang of it until the very final paragraph where we will be in unison together. Is there something on the screen? It's small. Ta-da! What do we learn? Adaptability. So let us lift up our hearts and with joy and gratitude as we rededicate this congregation, its people and its places, to worship in word and song and to the prophetic preaching by persons with vision. As a community where many shall find truths that nurture freedom, we dedicate this congregation. As a community of joy and tenderness where the arts and sciences of life shall be celebrated and honored, we dedicate this congregation. As a community of connection, hospitality, and spiritual growth for all across the generations, in affirmation of each person's inherent worth and dignity, we dedicate this congregation. As a place of accessibility to all persons where mobility will no longer be taken for granted, and we honor the multiple ways to participate in community. We dedicate this congregation in loving memory of all who have gone before us, both in this congregation and the larger community of Unitarian Universalism, whose perseverance laid the foundations on which we build. We dedicate this congregation in memory of all those who have sided with love, worked for equity, modeled peace, and their examples that remain with us to establish our commitment to this community. We dedicate this congregation. And with deep gratitude for the companions now joined on this adventure of the Spirit, and with high hopes for those who will join with us in the days which lie ahead, we dedicate this congregation. Here may no one be a stranger. Here may the love which binds us together in one community of faith find expression in word and deed. Grateful for our heritage and conscious of new opportunities before us, we dedicate this congregation and also our hearts and wills, and we promise to serve together in the ways of truth and love, to help ourselves and our communities bring peace into reality. Now, during our closing hymn, which is number 118, This Little Light of Mine, you're familiar. It's been played a couple of times now. During that, I invite you to come forward and take the light with you. Take your chalice home. Take a light with you. Let's sing. worship service, Zoe watched the lights flicker and glow. She watched her family's lamp most of all. And when the service was over, her family carried the lamp home with the flame lighting the way. The lamp lit their house when they returned home. Zoe washed her face and got ready for bed by the light of that flame. Mother, Zoe began. Yes, her mother asked. Father said the light of the church comes from its people. Yes, but also the people take their light from the church. Over on the table by the fireplace, the shiny bronze lamp was still burning. Her mother shared, and we have that light every day. May we together carry the flame of peace and love every day, and know that while we are apart, our chalice lights do not diminish the light in the world. Postlude!
Yes.